So, welcome back to Impulse Investors. We are excited to bring you our next stock pick.
Hi everyone, today's stock is a company I've personally used, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have too. So let's get into the details.
Today, our stock of the month pitch is Bumble. If you don't know what Bumble is, it is a dating app and currently is the second most popular in the entire United States, Tinder being the first most popular in US, which is part of Match Group.
Badoo is also the most popular in South America, and the company also owns this app.
But why Bumble? Why should you invest in Bumble shares and not other dating app shares like Match.com? And why would we buy a dating app share at all? Why do we consider this? We'll get to the bottom of these questions, but first we'll discuss a little bit of history for context and to also realize why we are investing in this share.
Bumble was founded by Whitney Hurd, the co-founder of Tinder. She even came up with the name Tinder.
Yes, but then she left because of a toxic environment and filed a suit for sexual discrimination. She then decided to join with the Badoo founder, Andrei Andreev, to create Bumble. Her vision for Bumble was to empower women and protect them from harassment. So to do this, she decided that women have to initiate the conversation after they match, and they have to initiate this within 24 hours. Ramesh, what do you think about this feature that Bumble has?
Well, from my perspective as a guy, I don't quite like it, to be honest. As if the woman is busy with work and social life, for example, it means that you both might miss out on a great opportunity to find something meaningful.
That's an interesting viewpoint. I'd argue, on the other hand, it stops people signing up if they're looking for a bit of fun. So the concept is definitely unique and has caught on to many, and it's sort of encouraging women empowerment.
Going back to the history, after that, Bumble exploded in terms of its users, and therefore Match Group, which acquired Tinder earlier, looked to acquire Bumble, but the proposition was rejected.
Yeah. And later on, Andrei Andreev, which we mentioned before, the founder of Badoo, was later on discovered to have been undergoing sexist behavior. And so eventually, Bumble and Badoo were later controlled by Whitney Hurd, um, who became the CEO. So Andrei Andreev was removed from the investment.
In 2020, Bumble had received 100 million users, and then in February of this year, it IPO'd on the Nasdaq.
Yes, so that's the complete history of Bumble. And from that, we can deduce what sets it apart from its competitors. You've already heard a few great things about the founder and what it's trying to encourage. That is that it wants to be a real dating app rather than one which is utilized for just one night stands. But in terms of numbers, it has higher monetization rates than Tinder, who are currently the number one dating app.
Bumble has also seen its revenue increase by over 20% in 2020, despite the pandemic. Also, in the first quarter of 2021, the app saw its revenue jump by 61% YOY, with paid users increasing by 44%.
Yeah, that's a massive year-on-year increase. And further to this, Bumble does more than its dating app. For example, it has Bumble BFF, which is a function where Bumble people can sign up to make friends. So there's more to it than just the actual dating app, and they are looking to innovate further. As an industry, Bumble is likely to be used more post-pandemic, and it's been surveyed that there's a pent-up demand for dating apps amongst high-income individuals, and those who have generally just been stuck at home and are bored, and haven't been able to meet people. Surely they will be now using the dating apps even more. So there's another argument for Bumble to grow even further.
Let's take a look at Bumble's competitor, Match.com. Their shares have a price to earnings ratio of 71 and a market cap of 37 billion. Now let's take a look at the chart.
So if we look at the chart on a 2-yearly basis, we can see that the shares have substantially increased from where they went down during the pandemic. It was around $47. And since then, they reached almost an all-time high of around $170. And they're currently at $134. So it's been substantial growth even during pandemic times. And we expect the industry to do even better when everything goes back to normal. At the same time, let's have a look at Bumble shares. So Bumble IPO'd in February, as we mentioned, and had a price of around $75 when it IPO'd. Right now, it has a price of $35. So it's more than halved what the value was from when it IPO'd. So that means there's also a great price opportunity here if you believe that dating apps are going to expand in the future and there's going to be rapid growth, which we think, for the reasons we've mentioned before, is going to be true. Let's look at a few more stats. So it has a market cap of 4.37 billion. And Romesh mentioned that Match.com had a market cap of 38 billion almost. As well as that, it has a price to earning ratio of about 57, whereas Match.com had a price to earning ratio of 71. And we think that Bumble has a higher growth potential than what Match.com has. So taking all these things into consideration, we think this share is absolutely great value.
I agree. I think that Bumble is a bargain and could be a massive long-term earner for those who are patient.
Yeah, I agree. And so to conclude, it has a great vision. It has an edge against its competitors. It is an industry posed to do well and is priced almost perfectly. So the investment seems like a no-brainer.
So there we have it. That is our stock pick of the month for you.
How about we reflect on our previous picks that we've made? One to note is our first crypto pick, KuCoin. That has exploded and it's now $25, and we recommended it at about $10.
ICE, on the other hand, has retracted more to around $15, but that means it may be a time to buy a little bit more.
Yeah, and ICE have some great new features coming out, as we mentioned in our video, such as leveraging. So I believe that once all these features are deployed, it could actually move the price upwards.
Finally, QuantumScape is around $30, and we'd recommend it closer to $25.
So since we recorded, they've actually got their battery checked and approved, which is great news. And I'm sure there'll be more positive developments as time goes by. So we think, as mentioned before, this is another great long-term investment.
We hope you've enjoyed our video. Please comment if you have any questions on what we've talked about through, and like and subscribe if you've enjoyed our video today. Thanks, and see you next time.